Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to the first video for Too Many Records in 2024. And this is one of my favorite videos to do every single year because it's exciting. I get to share with you some of the coolest records that I found last year and talk about the records I'm looking forward to getting this year. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Matt. I own a record store in Portland, Oregon. I've been doing YouTube for about 8 years now. I have like 500 videos about collecting vinyl, so definitely go check those out. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd really appreciate you doing so and turning the bell on. It helps my channel out quite a bit. And if you're not new here, you know the drill. Every year I talk about the 7 grails I'm looking forward to getting that year, ideally. And then I talk about the ones that I maybe found the year before. So this video is actually going to be a very exciting one, and you'll see why. So stick around. If you haven't seen the original video and you want to hear a little bit more about the grails that I'm going to be talking about from last year, you can click above and check that out. But otherwise, here it is. All right, so 7 grails for 2023. How did I do? Let's go down the list and figure it out. The Hades soundtrack. Hades is one of my favorite games of all time. An amazing roguelike game where you are consistently dying and getting stronger every time you try to combat all of these amazing and epic battles with gods and creatures. And it's an incredible journey, and the music is large in part the reason for why it's so good. I slept on this when it first came out, and I regretted it because it sold out pretty quickly, and it was out of print for a long time, going for like $300-400. I mean, it's a pretty nice box set, but I didn't want to plunk down the cash. I was like, this game is too popular for it not to get a repress. And this is one of those times where I banked on a repress, and it actually happened in the year I was trying to get the record. So, as I've said before on this channel, almost everything gets repressed. There's an asterisk with that, though. You know, there are some things that will never get repressed for rights issues, or the band broke up, or there's issues with the artists and things like that. But something like this, a game that was so massive, especially with Hades 2 potentially coming out this year, there was no way this wasn't getting a repress. And I was right. I managed to snag it when it was in stock. It is a beautiful 4-disc set on like this black, smoky, clear vinyl, and the music sounds terrific. It is one of my favorite game soundtracks of all time. Stoked to own it. Megadeth Countdown to Extinction. It had a picture disc press a few years back. I did not want to get that one. I wanted one of the early original presses, ideally a UK press, and that's what I found. I was able to track down this UK press of one of my favorite metal records, Countdown to Extinction, and it sounds terrific. I'm very happy I got it. I did pay a premium for it, but I think the price I paid was probably better than the usual price I see it going for. So it was one of those things where I had it on a watch list and I was just waiting and waiting for the right time. Something popped up that was in my budget that day. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for it, and no regrets. This record rules. How about the Future Funk Opus Flamingosis Pleasure Palette? This is a record that was a very limited run on vinyl digital, and I didn't get it back in the day. I got into Flamingosis just a few months after this record already came and went. I was able to get some of the other big Flamingosis records, but that one has eluded me for so long till last year, when I managed to get a copy. And I got a copy from none other than friend of the channel, DJ Wags. If you guys saw my travel pilot No Skips, which if you haven't, you should definitely check it out. It's one of the best videos on this channel. You can click above to watch that. He has like tens of thousands of records just chilling in his house. This was one of them. I convinced him to sell it to me. He loves this record too, but ultimately I think I was persuasive. I gave him a fair offer, and this is one that I really don't think is going to get repressed. I think by now, with how popular Flamingosis has become, I think this would have been repressed. I think there might be issues with some of the samples or something on there. Either way, even if it gets a repress, I'm stoked to finally own it. This is one of my favorite future funk records, and it is an absolute grail. Super hard to find. And then I had Danzig 3 and 4. As you guys know, I was able to track down Danzig 1 and 2 last year. Thanks to James Deneen, who is one of my regulars at the store. His wife had some copies that she sold me, and I was very, very happy. 3 and 4 are very hard to find, but what I ended up doing is actually possibly a surprise. I have 4 somewhere hiding over there. I couldn't find it before this video because this room is absolute chaos. But this is Danzig 3, How the Gods Kill. And you know what? This is not the first press. In fact, this is not even a real press. This is a bootleg. However, hear me out. So I was trying to track down the original pressings. They always pop up pretty beat up overseas, very, very expensive, hundreds of dollars. And then I saw this bootleg existed, which has this nice gatefold. I don't think the original is a gatefold. It's over 2 discs. And I said to myself, that's weird. The first pressing is only 1 disc for both Danzig 4 and 3. This is a 2-disc bootleg, just as the Danzig 4 one is. As you may or may not know, spreading out the music over more discs will allow for higher fidelity because the grooves have more room to breathe. There's going to be less chance for intergroove distortion because everything be pushed together on a single disc. I have read that the bootlegs are the definitive version of Danzig 3 and 4 because they just tried to cram too much music onto the original presses, which are probably never going to get a repress because Danzig is kind of a jerk and doesn't want to repress his stuff. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to take a chance on the 3 and 4 bootlegs, and they sound excellent. So I'm very happy with how they sound, and I think these are going to be my copies. Unless they release miraculously down the road an official press on 2 discs, I think this is going to be my go-to copy. So if you do happen to stumble upon a bootleg, I'd recommend it. And now 2 wholesome stories real quick. I was after a very rare bootleg record called 9 Inch Nails' The Pretty Hate Machine Sessions. Now this is the original version of Pretty Hate Machine that Trent Reznor did not like and he scrapped. Obviously you can hear some threads that ended up becoming the songs that we came to know and love on Pretty Hate Machine, but the original album, it's just a totally different experience. It almost has a more of a new wave bend to it. I think it's super interesting, and it's a great kind of archetype to show where the band would go and kind of the sound that they would have for a while after that. But the only way to get that original version is a CD, which I think is a bootleg CD, or this very, very hard to find bootleg record of the Pretty Hate Machine Sessions. And I was looking everywhere. I was looking on eBay. I was Googling constantly, looking for the most obscure possible site that might have one copy for sale. I could never even find one for sale. There wasn't even one that I could overpay for. It just wasn't popping up at all. I talked about it in my last video, and I come to find that an incredibly kind guy named Patrick, who lives in Seattle, was coming down to Portland to come check out my store. Unfortunately, and this breaks my heart, I was not there that day. I'm not there at the store every single day, and I had no idea he was coming. But what he did bring me, not as a trade, no, not as a trade, as a gift, was the 9 Inch Nails Pretty Hate Machine Sessions. Now, like I said, I'm pretty good at finding records. I could not find a single copy of this to buy. I'm guessing this came from his personal collection, or he knew a store that had it locally and he grabbed it for me. Either way, one of the nicest things that anyone's ever done for me, to be completely honest. Like, I was blown away when I found out that this guy wanted to come check out the store, was a fan of the channel, and he just wanted to give this to me as a gift. Like, I'm getting all choked up. It's like so beautiful that somebody would be that generous to someone they never met, especially because I wasn't even there to thank them in person. Patrick and I have connected digitally. I have not got to meet him yet, but he's going to be coming to the store hopefully this year at some point, so I can really kind of hopefully pay the favor back in some way and find him some cool stuff from the back, give him a nice little discount on his purchase, and just really appreciate what he did for me. I listened to this. It sounds amazing, especially for a bootleg, and I'm so stoked to finally own this. So thank you, Patrick. I can't believe that you did that. And in the same vein, the next Grail on the list was something that I was after for a while as well. This is Tears for Fears Elemental. After they went down to just one singer for Tears for Fears, this is the first record that came out, and a lot of people overlook it because it's missing the 2 original members. That being said, I think this is one of their strongest efforts, and I think it's extremely underrated and holds up with the first 3 records, I think, almost identically in terms of quality. It's very tricky to find an early press of this, which is something that I was really looking for. And I was hunting high and low. I didn't want to overpay, but I was kind of just monitoring it for a while. And then on my 1-year anniversary of the store, Terry Atmore, who is one of my favorite people. She is so sweet. She's been a member of the TMR community for years and years. So vocal in the group, on Facebook. Just the most supportive person for everything I've ever done. Just an absolute ray of sunshine with a killer music taste to boot. Was in town and wanted to come hang out for the 1 year. It was so terrific to finally meet her. She lived up to every expectation and exceeded them. And she also brought me a gift. What do you think that gift was? Tears for Fears Elemental. I never expect gifts. I'm not someone who gets a lot of gifts, especially records, because a lot of people are afraid to get me records because they think I have everything. I don't. She gave me this knowing this was on my list, and I was just so overjoyed with the amount of generosity that I was experiencing. I'm not used to getting things like this. You know, yeah, it's a record, but it's a record that I was looking for, and it's hard to find, and she went out of her way to actually make sure I could get it. So, Terry, you're the best. Thank you so much for this, and hopefully I'll see you again for the 2-year. And the final record. So far we're 6 for 7, which is wild. This is the most that I've ever done in terms of tracking down the records from my Grail list in 1 year. The final record, if you remember correctly, is a mystery record. It's a record that I would not share with anybody what it was, because I was fearful that I would miss it. If it popped up, I would be afraid someone else would get it. It has like less than 10 halves on Discogs. Copies almost never pop up. So I was like, I can't share what this is because I'm genuinely terrified that if I tell 50,000 people on YouTube that everyone's going to add it to their want list who's interested, and I'm going to never have a chance if it ever pops up. This record, I found it. This is Method Actor. First of all, this art is unbelievably beautiful. And the art is done by none other than the late, great Eva Cassidy, who is also vocals on every track on this album. She's not part of Method Actor, but they are friends with her, and they asked her if she would sing on this record. This is before her career really took off, and she sings on every track. This is a brilliant 80s pop record that I think is so beautiful and so catchy. And her vocals, even before she really kind of found her voice and her sound in her solo career, she brings so much life and beauty to every one of these tracks. This was released in such a small amount because this band never got any traction. I believe there were 1,000 copies, and a bunch of them, apparently, according to legend, got damaged. They all got warped and messed up, so they had to trash a bunch of them. So this really only made it to a few stores, to friends and family, etc., and never got a repress ever since. So I never thought I was going to find this record, but I was looking for it high and low as an Eva Cassidy super fan. So I found this guy on Discogs who said he had a copy. It popped up. It was VG+. It was $200, which is, I think, one of the only other copies that had sold was for $200. And I was like, yes, instantly, I bought it. And then I was hounding this guy who owns some record store, I think Maryland maybe, hounding him for weeks and weeks and weeks. He wasn't sending a tracking number, and I was like, what's going on with this record? Why can't I get this record? And eventually, he told me that he didn't have the record. I guess he said it sold in store, which is kind of crazy after all that time to make me wait. So I was devastated. I was like, I can't believe I was so close to owning this. The one time I see it pop up, I don't know what I'm going to do. And out of desperation in that very moment, I went on eBay and I searched Method Actor vinyl record. And there was one copy on eBay. This copy, VG+, not from that guy. It was from a completely different state. Bought it instantly, came in, played it, sounds amazing. I have not seen another copy pop up since. So I am so excited to own this. Definitely listen to it digitally if you're a fan of Eva Cassidy. I mean, if you don't know her, she is one of the greatest female vocalists of all time. I can't believe I own this. This is now one of my personal holiest grails, and I just feel so lucky that I had the right timing to get this record. Also, Lucas, comment on this video and then send me an email because you won. I said in my last video, if you were able to guess the record that I was hiding from you guys, I would send you some record as a gift. Now, I know how you figured it out, and you're sneaky, but you still did a loophole and you won. So you found it out because I had left a comment on the Method Actor Discogs page saying, if anyone wants to sell this to me, please let me know. So you went to my Discogs and you looked at my comments and you saw that I had left a comment on this, and you ascertained from my hints that it was this record. Very brilliant deduction. I don't think anyone on the planet could have guessed had I not done that, and I thought I was definitely safe from having to give out a prize. But let's give out a prize. Message me, email me. Congratulations, Lucas. Wow, this video is getting long already. I haven't even started talking about my 7 grails for 2024. So let's just get right into it. These are the grails that I am hoping to find this year. And also, please leave a comment on this video with any thoughts on the grails I just showed, the grails I'm about to talk about, but most importantly, the grails that are on your hit list for 2024, the things you are hoping to find. I always love to know what people are looking for. All right, first up, we have a metalcore record, Bullet for My Valentine, The Poison. This record was only pressed once. It is extremely hard to find, tends to go for $300 to $400 whenever it pops up. This is one of my favorite metalcore records, and I was able to track down a few of their other records last year, which was exciting as I'm kind of getting into the genre many years too late. I love pop punk, and now that I love metal, it kind of all clicked for me, and I was like, metalcore is amazing. So I am very, very excited to try to track this one down. I have a lead for it right now, but I don't know if it's going to come through. So as I'm making this video, I'm in limbo for a copy that someone's kind of fielding offers for. So fingers crossed I possibly get it. But I am on the hunt for it. It's an amazing record, great breakdowns, great vocals, great melodies. It is a killer metalcore record, and I hope I can find it. Or it gets a repress. Maybe a repress? I'd like a repress. Here's another one that I'm a little terrified to put on everyone's radar because this is one that not everyone knows about, but people should. If you like Brazilian music and if you like Ryuichi Sakamoto, this is a match made in heaven. So this is Morlenbaum and Sakamoto. They have 2 projects under that name, and both of them are amazing Brazilian albums. bossa nova inspired. I think there are a blend of originals and covers amongst the two records, but Paula Morlenbaum has incredible vocals, and she sings over these tracks that Ryuichi plays just heartbreaking piano on. There's some guitar on some of the tracks. It is just two records that were pressed in very limited run, and I've never seen them in a store. They never pop up online. They were pressed in Japan, and I was at Face Records in New York last year, and I asked the guy from Face if he has ever seen them. He didn't even know what they were, and obviously he had a bunch of rare Ryuichi Sakamoto in the shop, so these are very, very obscure. I would love for them to get a repress. Otherwise, I'm going to be forking out way too much money if a clean copy pops up, but these records are beautiful. And then we have Ana Frango Electrico, Little Electric Chicken Heart. As you guys know, I am now a big fan of the Brazilian artist Ana Frango Electrico. I put one of her records on my top albums of last year because it was so damn good. It was this beautiful blend of all these different musical genres into the most palatable and enjoyable listening experience I've had in a long time. Her record, Little Electric Chicken Heart, is very out of print. It has not had a repress. My hope is that with how well her last record seemed to be received, they'll do a repress this year. But otherwise, I'm going to be on the hunt for an affordable copy. And funny enough, Dora Morlenbaum, who is the daughter of Paula, I just mentioned in the previous entry, does backing vocals on this record. So, small world. Next up is Monsta Island Czars. This is a MF Doom affiliated project supergroup featuring a ton of amazing rappers over classic Doom style beats. It only had one pressing ever, and because there's so many cooks in the kitchen, I highly doubt that we're ever going to see a repress of this. I see it pop up every now and again for around the 200 mark, and I'm really hoping to find like a crazy deal one day or see it in a shop. I have a pretty massive Doom collection, as you guys can see, and you've been to the store. Look at all my Doom figures over there. And at the store, I have all kinds of Doom stuff. I love Doom, and this is something that's eluded me for a long time, and I decided this is the year I'm going to really spend some time trying to track it down. If you like MF Doom and you have not heard Monsta Island Czars, highly recommend checking this album out. It is super underrated and just badass. The next two I'm going to talk about are artists that have a few records, and all of them are impossible to find. So I'm not going to put one specific record. I'm just going to say basically any record of either of these artists. The first one is Japanese artist Sakanation. Sakanation is this really interesting hybrid of indie rock and new wave and all kinds of kind of poppy elements. Every one of their records that I've listened to, or at least like skimmed through, are incredible. And they have like 5 or 6 different albums. All of them go for hundreds on Discogs. I recently discovered them, and it's now a new obsession trying to track any of them down. I missed out on every record when they were in stock, unfortunately, and like I said, now people are asking crazy money. But if you don't mind Japanese vocals and you want to hear some extremely catchy music, check out Sakanation. Start anywhere and just kind of go from there in a spiral and listen to a bunch of random stuff. They are fantastic, and if I can find one of their records for a decent price this year, I'm going to call it a win. Likewise, we have Flipper's Guitar. Flipper's Guitar is an early project of the Great Cornelius, which is one of my favorite kind of indie experimental artists. So many good albums by that guy. And Flipper's Guitar is a project that he put out before. I believe there were 3 albums under that name, and it's kind of just loungy, chilled out, kind of a little bossa nova-y at times. Just really nice kind of indie laid-back music, and all of the records are beautiful. All of them are also very, very out of print. So I think they're ripe for represses. Let's get someone on them. I don't know what label would do it, but please somebody press these so I don't have to pay $1 billion, but these are on my list for 2024. And the final one is another one I discovered not that long ago. This is a band called Mother, but it's spelled Mothxr, you know, like true hipsters do. And the album is called Centerfold. Now, what's interesting is that this is the musical project of the one and only Penn Badgley, who is from Gossip Girl and more famously now the show You. But he's also a musician, and he's also a really, really good musician. That band is amazing, and they had one album that they pressed to vinyl, Centerfold. I cannot find a copy for sale. There's none on Discogs as I'm making this video. There's none on eBay. There's none on any site that I could purchase. I don't know how limited the run was, but it seems to be pretty limited. It is an amazing kind of synth pop record that is not traditional by any sense. A lot of great falsetto vocals, a couple tracks that utilize his deeper vocal range, almost in like a Joy Division-y kind of way. There's definitely elements of new wave mixed with indie synth pop, and I think it's a super interesting listen. The man is extremely talented and charming. I'm a big fan of basically everything he does, including Gossip Girl. I'm not too ashamed to admit that. And I would love to track down this record this year. So hopefully by making this video, I'm not making it extremely difficult to find this record, or any of the records on my list, because they're all hard to find to begin with. And now I'm telling all of you. So what am I doing? So those are my grails for the year. As mentioned, I'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the ones I mentioned or the ones that are on your list. So please feel free to drop a comment below, and I look forward to chatting with you guys about all of these grails down there. So thanks so much for watching this video, and lots more coming soon. Take it easy.